Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic University podcast. This is a YouTube exclusive. I'm Anthony Canton III. That's Jake Christie. Jake, welcome back. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. We took a little vacation. You took a big vacation.
I sure
Went to the
did.
islands.
Oh,
You were
Jesus.
unwashed for a few
Oh, my
days,
God. Shame on
and
me.
and then and
Shame.
then you needed a week to recover. But we're back.
Yes, we are back, and we are here specifically for some news that came out in the MCU earlier in the week. Wanted to talk about it as Spider-Man 4, whatever the title is, we will know at some point. But the next Spider-Man film will have a new director. John Watts is gone. I'll get to that in a second. But we have a new director, Destin Daniel Cretton, who it seems like Marvel seems to have a lot of trust in this dude to do some of their bigger projects. He was previously on board to do the Kang Dynasty before that whole thing changed. He's the executive producer on Wonder Man, which will be out, I believe, in 2026. And obviously Shang-Chi 2, that's another conversation for another day, as now he's kind of front and center of this. Jake, what do you think of this news?
I mean, it's really exciting because I think that Destin Daniel Cretton is one of the guys who's actually had interesting action sequences in the MCU of late, and I think that that's the thing that even the most ardent defenders of the Watch Spider-Man trilogy, I think, would say it's lacking. That there are some interesting ideas, the Mysterio fight sequence is interesting, but it's not as kinetic as you want it to be. It's certainly not as kinetic as the Raimi movies are, and I mean, no one's Sam Raimi, but Destin Daniel Cretton, I think, really showed an appreciation and a he that's a part he cares about. I don't think that he's just handing it off to a previs team. And so I'm really excited what he can do in that regard with Spider-Man. And he just, the character of Shang-Chi was nobody for most movie viewers.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was so personal and you really felt the character is a really good sign for Spider-Man, because obviously we really care a lot about Tom Holland's Peter Parker, but he is such a I feel like the character of Peter Parker is as essential to a Spider-Man story as any alter ego is to any superhero story. And so I'm excited for that.
I couldn't agree with you more on that front. I think the biggest thing that comes across me for this is the idea that if you're going to overhaul the Spider-Man story and go in a new direction and go in a fresh direction, as they should, I think you should go with a fresh pair of eyes on it. And I think these are the best eyes that you could reasonably get at this point, as you're trying to really just reboot your multiverse saga as we get to the end here with Doctor Doom and RDJ and everything that's going on with that. So you need to put Spider-Man in the hands of somebody with the capabilities as Cretton has, especially with Spider-Man probably being a very important character to the end of that saga. So I'm excited. I'm happy. Very intrigued. I mean, you mentioned the action aspect of Spider-Man. I think the story, which a lot of the internet has been kind of ablaze over, as far as whether this is a multiversal story or is this a street level story, I tend to be in the camp that I really do believe this, because I don't think Kevin Feige is that obtuse as far as that's concerned, and just allowing Sony to do the nonsense that Sony does. I do believe that if you want to you could do the connection, you could do the multiverse element, but it doesn't have to be that big of a connection.
Yeah.
You could have the street level story, which I think that you could point to with everything going on potentially with Daredevil and Fisk. Mm-hmm. It's right there. It's right in front of you, where you're going to see that. And then it's a nice lead in to what is happening in New York City with Spider-Man, with nobody who knows him at this point, and Peter Parker trying to figure things out. And then you bring a bunch of street level villains into the mix, and you have a very nice story. Then you could go to the whole symbiote stuff and Secret Wars.
I have a question, though. What street level villains in New York do you think they want to bring in? Because you could bring in someone like Scorpion, someone like Wilson Fisk, like you mentioned. I think that Eric Adams is a New York villain that I think that he definitely needs to come to justice. But no, you mentioned the Sony stuff, and I think that another good thing that Destin Daniel Cretton has under his belt is that Spider-Man's a huge property, and in Spider-Man Homecoming was the lowest stakes Spider-Man movie ever made.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're able to get away with doing the indie director to major director. And I think that Marvel has done that less recently, and I think that's a good thing. And the thing you wouldn't want to have happen is for them to do that with this movie, because you can easily imagine with the amount of stock that Sony has in this movie and that Disney has in this movie, if there was a director who had never directed something for more than like $10 million, they would get like manhandled. You know what I mean? Like Destin
Yeah.
Daniel Cretton has worked with Marvel for all these years. He did Shang-Chi, which is not Spider-Man, but is a huge movie. Like
Hmm.
he, sure, he could get pushed around. Big directors occasionally get pushed around all the time, but like I said occasionally and all the time, but big directors do get pushed around occasionally. But I just trust him to be able to navigate that, because
Yeah.
you do know that Sony is going to try some real bullshit. And
Yeah.
like I understand why.
Hmm.
You know what the thing about it is, it's like it it just means way more for them than it does for Disney, because Disney's like, we have 6 MCU projects, and Sony is like, if I don't hit this parlay, I won't be able to pay for my house. So
Yeah, man. I mean, I think with everything going on, I mean, you still got you got the Craven thing coming out, and then Venom, which has its own connection to
yeah.
Spider-Man with the symbiote stuff,
I will say,
and
by the way, if Venom 3 is just them turning different animals into Venom, I'm all the way fucking on board. To be clear, I was already fucking on board, but that is like, when it's like Venom fish, I'm like, absolutely, I'll be
listen,
there.
we gonna finish this trilogy out, baby. Like this, yeah. No stops here. That we will be doing a
The
Venom
thing
Last
that's most
Dance
exciting
spot.
to me
Yeah.
about Venom is that the first one was directed by Ruben Fleischer, who was like a real director who had some ideas. Tom Hardy and him apparently fought a lot about the tone. Then they bring on Andy Serkis, who's like, a steady hand, does stuff with mocap to try to, appease Tom Hardy a little bit. And then with this one, it's being directed by Tom Hardy's like friend of 20 years, who co-wrote the other ones, who's never actually directed a movie before. And so it's just like, oh, Tom Hardy's weird, I'm gonna jump in a fish tank and make Venom about gay rights shtick is actually gonna be, that's what the whole movie's gonna be. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that in terms of closing a trilogy, and the thing that I have actually always enjoyed about the Venom movies is they do actually take a look at the relationship between the symbiote and Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
Like it's a heavy portion of it. It's not just Venom biting people's heads the entire movie, but
That is the, like, people talk about like plot versus story. The first two Venoms, and I assume the third Venom, the story is entirely about the relationship between Venom and Eddie Brock. The story has nothing really to do with the villains. It's just like,
yeah,
it's about
which
them coming
and
together.
honestly, in a way, like with the way that Sony goes about their business, I would probably prefer. I
Oh
appreciate that
yeah.
the fact that they lean into that. But the bigger
Yeah.
thing that comes away, and it's some of the talk of what comes away with that today,
Yeah.
is that the main villain of this movie is the symbiote king Null.
Hmm.
Is apparently supposed to show up in this movie. So of course everybody's like, "This is Sony. This is not going to work well." And then now rumors are coming along that Null will not just be in this movie. This will be something used across future installments. Again, Spider-Man at some point is going to come in contact with the symbiote himself. We know where that's going to go. There's going to be an MCU Venom at some point. I don't. It's way too early to suggest and think about things along those lines. But just throwing it out there for the folks listening or watching, that perhaps it could be something interesting going forward. But
Now, wait, did
like,
they announce casting for Null? I thought I saw a rumor, but was that announced?
that's yeah. Actually, that turned out to be not.
Not true.
We don't.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
Okay.
no
Just
official word
no,
on who that is.
I was just wanted to ask, because the actor that I heard was an actor who I've said before is one of the few actors that can pull off looking like he actually smells bad. And I don't mean that he does smell bad, but like whenever actors like try to play dirty in a movie, or like you just threw some makeup on, when this actor whose name rhymes with Pormanitis looks dirty in something, you're like, oh, I think you actually just didn't bathe yourself. And I respect that.
I
Sorry,
missed you.
I've had this bottled up.
I missed you, man. I missed you,
Missed you
man.
too, buddy.
Oh man, but yeah, like we'll see. I think the main thing for me as far as Spider-Man goes, you now have your director in place. Let's get this story straight. Let's have it
Mm-hmm.
be a good story that you can follow up as far as what huge character moment that Peter Parker
Mm-hmm.
goes through in No Way Home, and really that big drop off where he kind of loses everybody, and
Yeah.
where does he go from there
Mm-hmm.
is a really fascinating place to put him. So I'm now excited because I think the action's gonna fucking rock.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be awesome. And then now you could potentially have a really good story that goes along with that. And all you gotta do is you do that story and then you just drop him off in Battle World for Secret Wars. That's
Yes.
all you gotta do.
And I do have to say a thing. I know we've been on the same page about this.
Yes.
That, like, no matter how you feel about it story wise, anyone who is suggesting that maybe Zendaya will not be in these movies going forward is, for a couple things. One, like, Tom Holland and Zendaya are famously dating. Like, you absolutely want to put them in a movie together.
You
And
got to.
two, for me, and I don't want her to be all over this movie. I think that she should maybe just be in like a scene or two at the end. But
I
maybe I'm
agree.
crazy, and I believe we discussed this. I think we agree that like the compelling thing about him making the decision he made is that she's still alive. If she never comes back again, I think it's actually just like the whole interesting thing is that she's still around. And like I think that that's kind of it's so weird when people are like, "Yup, I want that to be the end of MJ." I'm like, really? That felt like just set up the whole conflict.
Buddy, yearning. We want
Yeah.
yearning. We
Uh huh.
want romance. We want the real. If you want the real. Now, that other stuff where y'all want Peter Parker to be broke and get out the mud, I don't know about that. That's a total different
The
story.
thing is, I think about him as I want him to be broke. People tell me they want him to be poor. And I'm like,
They
I
want
don't.
him dumpster diving for food, yo.
Yeah,
Like, come
like
on.
the thing about like Peter Parker in the Raimi movies and like in Spider-Man 2 is
Yeah,
broke, but he's not like people. I think a lot of times talk about that they want to see like more
yeah,
representation of poor people on screen. It's like no, you want to see a representation of broke people because like if he actually was like poor, that's just like depressing. And like I don't
yeah.
want to watch him live in a room with three people. Like
No,
like
no.
I want him to
Yes,
argue with a guy about
yes.
rent and like have to eat like $1.50 slices instead of real meals. Like that's fine, but I don't want him to be like maxing out credit cards to try to pay for food.
He gonna go on PayPal or Klarna or some shit. Like, come
Yeah,
on, man.
yeah, he's knocking on the door of the check cashing place. He fell for that TikTok scam for the unlimited money.
Oh my god, the chase fraud. The fraud his accounts at the minus 60,000.
Yeah,
God damn it.
the new issue of Spider-Man discovers kiting checks.
That he gotta devote himself to a life of crime and gang wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's for you, Dalbean and Hunter. Gang wars, right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think Spider Man obviously is gonna be exciting. We're gonna have to wait for it for a little bit longer. It should start filming first quarter of next year,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll get it in 2026. But I don't mind. Make a good movie. That's the most
No, and
important
that's
thing.
honestly that's not that crazy of
No,
a
and we got a bunch of MCU shit coming down the pike
yeah
anyway. So
yeah
like, we got Cap, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four,
yeah
and
yeah. I'm
and
cool.
and the Blade movie allegedly.
Oh yeah, allegedly, yeah. I mean, the amount of people that did the joke of the concept of a plan for
Yes,
Blade,
yes.
like, yeah, it's just classic stuff. But no, I'm excited for the Spider-Man movie, and I think that like, I just, I think the fact that the way they end the last one, that they're gonna give it, I think that that kind of was a promise that they're gonna give us at least most of a ground level Spider-Man movie. I don't expect them to end there because like I understand that
They don't
they're
need
all
to end there.
setting
That's
up
fine.
for something bigger, and like they made the decisions about what type of stories they're telling in the MCU, and I think frankly the decisions if you're gonna make a cinematic universe, you're never gonna be able to keep it as small all the time.
Right.
But I think that like if we can get a little bit of that and a little bit of him being once again broke, of him having to, because I think one of the problems with the action with Spider-Man in the first three Holland movies is that like he has all the gadgets and stuff that makes a lot of the action less Spider-Man-y and more Iron Man-y. And so like I want to see him just like
Except the third one. The
yes,
third
yes,
one they was
yeah,
throwing down.
yes, the third,
To their
yeah,
credit. To
yes,
their credit.
they
Yes.
definitely ease back on it. But I think that like just seeing him have to use his wits and have
Yeah.
to just make do with his Spidey powers. I'm excited to see that because that's where it's most fun. Because Spider-Man's just so fucking fun. Like that's the whole thing
Meat and
about him.
potatoes, baby. Just stick with the meat and potatoes. You're gonna be all right.
Hmm.
That's what I say as far as that's concerned.
Hmm.
But yes, so we'll see what happens with Spider-Man. As far as the MCU is concerned, what's coming up next for us is one little show called Agatha All Along. The
Hmm.
first two episodes are next week. Excited to talk about that
Hmm.
as soon as they come out. Should be fascinating. We'll try and bring a fun cast of characters along with us
Hmm.
to discuss them. So that'll be the next thing. So as you watch this video, and just like, comment,
Hmm.
subscribe, and perhaps in the future, we had two folks win Wash Agenda T-shirts
Hmm.
last week, so that they should be getting them soon. Shout out to Ant and shout out to Summer
Hmm.
for winning the contest. And keep subscribing, keep following all those
And
things.
if you
Yes,
want a Wash Agenda T-shirt and you didn't win one, the link will
that
be in
too.
the description of this. Because we don't just give away T-shirts, we also sell them. You gotta represent the agenda. We know AC went away from it for a little bit,
Oh,
but
buddy.
But but
Yeah,
but I'll tell you this: I bet you felt pretty washed when you were feeling it the next couple days.
oh man, I have not drank that much liquor since I was 21 years old.
I mean, you're on island time though. It just
It just nah, man. It just the drinks just kept on coming. This is one of the great
Amen,
trips.
brother.
But yes, enjoyed that. But excited to be back with Jake, and we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about Agatha and everything coming along.
Yeah.
You know the vibes. Like, subscribe, comment. Patreon.com/MC
Hmm.
University Pod for bonus content. We're actually about to record a subscriber mailbag. So if you'd be so inclined to throw some $3 in, then you can listen to some of the wild questions that we're getting in this particular
Oof.
installment,
Uh
which we're
huh.
about to do right
Yes.
now. So, for Jake Christie, I am Anthony Canton III. Keep following the show. Appreciate y'all. We'll talk to you next time.